Did your release from WWE come as a surprise?
Not surprised that it happened. Surprised when it did happen. Yeah, I think I was in NXT at the time, and I actually had a pay-per-view match scheduled that weekend with Dominic Mysterio for the North American Championship.
And rumor says you were supposed to win that match.
I don't believe anything until it happens, as you
Sure.
should in pro wrestling. But yeah, I don't mind sharing. Like, I think that was the plan. But mind you, the plan was actually to put the North American Championship on me months prior. But WWE is so smart with like advertising and contract negotiations. So NXT's network deal was coming up, and you know Shawn is awesome. Shawn Michaels down in NXT is awesome. He explains to me, he's like, "Hey, we're going to put the North American Championship on you." Da 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 da. What happens is the network deal is coming up, and this is when Judgment Day, specifically Dom, is just white hot. I mean, they're still white hot right now, but like Dom was like next level right there. So they were like, "Hey, everyone in Judgment Day has a championship. We want to put a championship on Dom, and we want to spike the ratings for NXT because the idea is if you spike the ratings when the contract negotiates out, it just helps you."
Yeah.
So this is when Seth was coming and Becky was coming. So I get a call from Shawn. He's like, "Hey, we're actually putting the championship on Dom, and here's the reason why." And I go, "Yeah, that makes total like awesome. Do it. Like that I didn't expect it coming. Dom's gonna come and challenge Wesley and beat him. Like great." So we do that. Then we do like a three-way match, which was super fun with Dom, me, and Wesley. And then he's like, "Hey, Dom's needed back on the main roster." Poor guy was working like 6 days a week or something like that. Yeah, so that I think that was a plan. Was it a surprise? No, because I saw WWE stock and WWE in general going this way, and my stock just going this way.
But don't you feel like that could change in an instant?
I mean, yeah. So this is like the controversial take. I think there's so many talented people in wrestling, not just in WWE, and AEW and TNA on the end of it. There's so many. At the end of the day, it just comes down to production. And I know someone's gonna be like, "That's." Of course, when I step up to bat, I have to perform. I have to hit the ball. But you have to be called up to bat, right? There's a lot of hitters, but most of them got to sit. And at the end of the day, there's some people in a room that know way more than I do as far as TV rights, advertisements, merchandising, that make decisions. And when they make a decision that this can's gonna get pyro, this can's gonna get the best music, and we're gonna make sure that you make that can look like it's worth $1 million because it's gonna make you $1 million, right? So at the end of the day, it's just production. So yeah, you're right. At the end of the day, but I didn't feel like that was in the cards at that time. So when they got the call, it's weird because it was kind of a sense of relief in a way because I'd wanted out prior to that, and when I got let go, I asked the typical question like, "Oh, okay, is this like immediate? Like, yeah, it's we no longer need it. This is your 90 days." And like I said, it was a moment of like, oh man, like I'm sad that it didn't work out, but I'm not mad at myself. It's unfortunate, but in this industry, people get let go all the time. And I had talked to friends of mine that got released prior to me, a year ago or something like that. And their number one regret that they told me is like, "Man, I just wish that I fought a little harder. I wish I didn't sit and like wait to be called on or have an attitude like, oh, I'm not on the show, I'm leaving early. I wish I fought a little harder." And I can very confidently sit here and say, man, I don't have the. I fought. I pitched. I presented. I produced. Super duper team player. Give me anyone, everyone. I would request to be on main event. I'm not on Raw. I'm not. Can I be on main? Because a lot of people don't want to do it. I'll do it. Can I have the 2-seg match? And I would do promos for it. Me and Ricochet had a feud on main event that did huge numbers for them. Like I saw the analytics. I'm the nerd that like I was asking for like analytics and stuff like that. But yeah, I walked away knowing like, man, I gave it more than an honest try. Like I really tried it and it didn't work out. It's just how the cookie crumbled, man. So I'm forever grateful for my time at WWE. At the end of the day, look at like I have a platform because of them. People know me because of my time in WWE.
Yeah.
So that's forever. I have a house. This is a little sappy. Like I don't mind sharing it because I think it's a good thing. I think a lot of people see the cutthroat business and like, yeah, it's a cut. How do they let you go? At the end of the day, when you get hired by WWE, this is back in 2005, they offered us developmental contracts, NXT development. And one of the contingencies in this contract is you have to move, you have to relocate to Orlando. We just bought a house. my wife is pregnant with our second child. And I was like, man, like, do I really want to drag her to Orlando? We don't know anybody. And her whole family's there. I was like, hey, you know what, babe? Like, you stay back here. I'm going to get the smallest, cheapest apartment. And I'm just going to send money home. I'm like, it'll be fine. And for some reason in my head, I go, just give me 6 months. I can somehow figure out in 6 months how to come back. And if I can't, then like, we'll figure it out. If you want me to quit, I'll quit. But just give me 6 months. She's like, okay, like, yeah, I'm pregnant, but okay, you know? So I left my wife. She stayed back at our house, but, you know, a bunch of families with her. And this is like a testament to like, I understand business is business and decision made, but I'll always hold Hunter in really high regards. Cause like 5 months into my deal, I very like sheepishly go up to him. I go, hey, Paul, like, my son is due in a few weeks. My wife's going to give birth. And like, if it's okay with you, you know, would I be able to go home for the week? Like, I know I got to report
for the birth of your son.
Yeah. Dude, you got to realize I just started with I'm very like sheepishly moving around. Like, how does it work? Cause you have to be in Orlando and you have to report to the PC and these go. So I'm like, hey, is it okay with you if I could like stay at home for a week or two and can I fly from Chicago? Like, I don't know how that works. And he like does that. And like, we walk over the corner. He's like, just move back home to Chicago. I was like, well, what? And he goes, don't tell anybody. Just I'll talk to travel. Just move. He goes, there's nothing greater in your life than being a dad. Go do that. He's like, move back to Chicago. Don't say anything. And I was like, dude, like, wow. And I had this thing in my head. Hey, babe, give me 6 months. This is month 5. Brother, I flew back home. I flew back to Orlando where my apartment was, grabbed all my stuff, just threw it in my car, subleased my thing. I threw it and I just drove straight from Orlando to Chicago. And like 2 days later, my son was born. So it just all worked. And I got to, and the big thing is like my entire majority of my 205 life, I got to go home. And a lot of these guys were like still, you know, they relocated everyone down to Orlando. So at the end of the day, like he didn't have to do that. Like I'm sure they would have like, yeah, go home for a few weeks, but then come back. I got to go, you know, I was there. You know what I mean? As much as we're on the road. So like forever indebted to him for that kind gesture, you know? So like when people bring up the cutthroat business, I'm like, yeah, but like there are these personal connections behind the business, right? So like I look at him as like he understands, he's father himself. So he understands what it meant to be. So something he didn't have to do and he did it.